Hello guys, this is your friend. We are back with a new fanfic. Which is What If Naruto Had Harem with 6 Girls Part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And no, start a new fanfic. It's been 2 weeks since Naruto left Konoha and he was finally stopping for another rest after all, since he'd been trying to hide his trail by moving along Suna's borders to get to Nami no Kuni, which was on the opposite side of Konoha. It had been truly tiring, and after so long he hoped to get to Uzu no Kuni fast. Going around Konoha was not fun for the Uzumaki, and he had to take a break every few hours even while hiding and trying not to get caught by Konoha or Suna, let alone any other shinobi. Yes, civilization. Finally, Naruto exclaimed as he seen walls to a small village near to Nami. His clothes were smeared with dirt and had tears here and there. He also had sand laying in his hair, yet he wore the biggest grin for the first time in forever. He was so happy to finally be able to get a rest to relax his sore and tired muscles from all the running and moving around Konoha and invading scouts and teams to get him back. So as Naruto made his way to the small village near Nami, not knowing the dangers that awaits him that would change him in many ways but also earn him a new friend who would accompany him on his journey for the next few years. Konoha. Back at the Namikaze compound, Kushina sat at the kitchen table staring blankly at the empty white wall next to the stove. Her eyes were red and puffy, and her face was swollen from crying so much. She wore a depressed and a dazed-out look as if remembering something of the past.
Flashback. After the letter was revealed to Kushina and Minato by Shizune, and they got over the shock of the letter, Minato made haste and dismissed the council that was angry and in a panic so that they could talk more in private about Naruto. So wiping any tears away, he quickly flashed all of them away, which included Shizune, Jiraiya, himself and his wife. They next appeared in the Namikaze family's living room.
Shizune, please tell us what's going on. Why would our son leave? He has everything he needs here, Minato rambled while Kushina blew her nose in a tissue. Jiraiya stood against the wall and watched with a frown on his face. He was doing his best to control his emotions after that outburst he had earlier. Shizune, I think you should tell them all of their mistakes, because clearly they have yet to realize it on their own. Even with their shock of their only son, they have forsaken and pushed away, making him run away. Jiraiya's voice, which was strained with anger and pain, called Shizune out of her rage-filled thoughts and making her nod slowly and wiping away her angry and sad-filled tears. Shizune, please tell us the truth about my baby boy, please. Kushina cried harder, begging Shizune with her red-rimmed eyes and flushed face from crying so long. Minato walked up to his wife and hugged her while keeping his own tears at bay. Kushina might put up a tough persona, but she has a fragile heart. Naruto. He was always smart, very observant for a child his age. From the moment I laid my eyes on him, I knew he was going to be something great in the future.
Since he was born, we've noticed you always overlooked him for the girls. We thought you'd start including him when he got older, but our hopes were dashed when you ignored him more and more, especially after he told you that every time the girls slept next to him, he was getting hurt. Shizune paused as tears filled her eyes once more and her throat choked on the words. She looked at Jiraiya before continuing.
Tsunade-sama and I checked him out after overhearing you talk about him complaining.
We found some kind of chakra that wasn't his in his system. It was stretching his chakra coils and it was doing something else like poison. We were going to tell you, but then we heard that you didn't want to hear about anything about that anymore. Tsunade-sama tried to make you think, but you brushed it off, so we kept quiet. That's when your daughters and every other child started pranking and blamed it on Naruto. You never heard him out, always believing the girls and others over your son. Finally he made friends with Itachi, Hinata and Neji. They couldn't always be there with him, but they were good to him when they seen him.
The Uchihas, Tsunade-sama, Jiraiya-sama and I become something of a family, but we were always busy because there is so much we all have to do around the village. Everything was going wrong and none of us could make you see because Naruto made us promise not to say anything to you.
Despite all of these problems of favoring the girls, He managed to study and teach himself how to do jutsu, and he did it with his brilliant mind. But now has gone all because you couldn't tell him the truth. Shizune was back to a sobbing mess at this point. Kushina was no better as she and Minato finally realized all the problems they caused by favoring Nariko and Nanami over Naruto.
That pain he was talking about, do you have anything left over from the observations you gave him? I think I might know what that pain was caused by if it happened every time the girls slept next to him, but I have to see before anything else. The girls might have been using him as a chakra rod for the Kyuubi. If that is true, then the next time the fox gives its hosts a surge to make them stronger to use its chakra when they older, there might be big problems, especially if this has been happening since they babies. Jiraiya's voice cut through the silence and Minato and Shizune's eyes widened.
We drove our own son away, Minato. Oh Kami, please Naruto, come back. Come back. We'll try and fix things. Kushina cried out to the heavens while struggling in her husband's arms, which tightened around her as he too cried. His wife finally collapsed against him, sobbing loudly.
Shizune, let's go, we'll come back another time. Let them think for now. Let's go check on Tsunadeheim and see how she's doing. This was said as Jiraiya helped her stand, and she nodded, and both of them left the compound, leaving broken parents behind. End of flashback. Kushina went to the cabinet and pulled out a bottle of sake and poured some out for herself with trembling hands and sat back down on the chair by the table so she drowned the first glass in a few seconds that it would make Tsunade proud. She wanted to drown all her problems and mistakes. Later they would talk to Nariko and Nanami about their punishment and hopefully about the chakra situation, but not before she slapped the lights out of them. Naruto. Naruto reached the entrance of the village and immediately he felt something was wrong. It was a really small village and it also looked really poor. Walking slowly into the village, he seen a bunch of guys surrounding a woman. She had short black hair and she was cry out about something or someone, but he couldn't hear what she was saying.
Naruto crept slowly away. As much as he'd love to help, he couldn't because he wasn't strong enough, especially since he'd been running and hiding so long and he didn't want to make things worse than they already were. As he tried to creep away, he suddenly hit something hard and he turned around only to come face to face with one of the bandits, possibly the leader of the group.
Hey boys, look what we found. Let's see if he has anything on him. The dark brown-headed, bearded leader of the bandits boomed with a laugh, lifting Naruto off the ground by the scruff of his neck. He eyed the black bag on Naruto's back and he grinned with a glint in his eyes. Konoha. A few days ago, Nariko and Nanami sat in the family room. Their parents sat opposite them and stared at them unwavering. Nanami shifted uncomfortably on the couch next to her sister. The whole situation was weird for them. Their parents never stared at them that way ever. It's more of a Naruto situation because he was always the one in these types of situations, not them, so it was unsettling.
Nariko, Nanami, we called you today because we have found out something. We have found out that you have wronged your brother many times in the past, and it's sad that we have just found out about this now only. So me and your mother have come to a suitable punishment for you too. Minato said solemnly to his daughters, and their eyes widened while his face betrayed no emotions. Nariko was the first one to blow a gasket.
What? We did nothing to that loser. He's the one always complaining and pulling pranks, not us. Why don't you punish that idiot? Naruto, where are you? Come take your punishment. How dare he say anything wrong about us? Nariko spat out in rage, her face red as a tomato with anger and hate.
Snap. Snap. Naruto's not here. He ran away because of us. I never raised you like this. Who are you? You are no daughters of mine.
My daughters would love their brother, not hate him. They'd care for him, not blame things on him. No children of mine would use their sibling as a chakra rod. How dare you? You two have brought dishonor to our family, and so you will be punished accordingly. After all, you are two of the people who has made him run away. Now we'll never see him again thanks to this family. Kushina snapped at Nariko and Nanami after slapping them across their faces. Nariko's mouth was agape. A purple bruise was forming on her right cheek and a similar bruise was forming on Nanami's left cheek. Kushina, let's go. We have more important things to do, like get Kakashi's report on the search for our son. Leave them to rethink their actions towards their brother. When we get back, we'll give them their punishment. Minato told his wife, pulling her away. Soon they both left and the girls were alone. Nanami crumbled first. "Oh Noriko, nay. What have we done?" Nanami cried out with wide eyes as the tears finally pooled over, as if it would help the situation they were in. Noriko crumbled next into a pile of limbs with wide eyes, as if only now realizing the damage done on their family. Not in their entire lives have they ever thought their brother will run away because of what they did. This was truly a wake-up call for them. Nanami-chan. I don't know. I'm so sorry," Noriko whispered, putting a hand on her cheek, touching the bruise and looking over at her sister's forlorn expression. She hugged her sister and pat her back. "I really dunno. I'm so sorry, Naruto ni. I'm so sorry," she kept whispering. Naruto, our favorite blonde boy with black streaks, was running to get away, but that wasn't working out well for him because his muscles were all sore and tired from running for so long in the past few days, and that's what made him stumble and fall, which unsurprisingly lead to him begin loomed over by the bandits' leader once again. This man was really full of himself.
"Let's see you try that stunt again, you brat. Boys, I want him dead by the hour. I won't allow some snot-nosed brat stop my raids. We have women to use and men to kill and beat, so let's get this shit out the way now." The leader yelled at his men with anger and watched satisfied as his men scrambled to do his bidding. His smirk widened as he watched his men crowd around the boy, beating him before killing him.
However, as Naruto's eyes widened, inside his body his blood was pumping hard and rushing along with his chakra running to his eyes. The different chords behind his eyes began shifting and changing at a fast rate. For a moment Naruto's vision went black and all he could think and imagine was the tall inhuman figures looming over him trying to kill him with weapons. Not a minute later, when his vision returned, he made eye contact with one of the guys coming to beat then kill him. The guy froze up and his weapon, which was a spike, fell upright with him falling straight onto it. Blood. The guy's eyes were wide and unseeing, without life left in him. Naruto's eyes widened and made eye contact with some of the other bandits, and each of them fell either into their weapons or unconscious. At first Naruto sat confused, then he realized that he was unconsciously releasing chakra into his eyes rolled back into his head and he passed out. He just realized he had killed today using genjutsu from his eyes. Konoha. Minato sat behind his desk reading the reports Suna Shinobi and Kakashi gave him. He let out a frustrated sigh. Really, his son was too smart for his own good. Where was he heading anyway? That was the question running in the Hokage's head as he reread the reports over again and again, checking if he missed something or anything. He put down the reports and massaged his temples. He could feel a migraine coming on slowly. He felt like such a bad Hokage since he can't even find his own son who was hiding. Flashback. Sensei. I'm sorry, but we can't find Naruto anywhere. We even had help from Suna Shinobi that was doing border scouting and we still turned up with nothing. Pakun and his pack of dogs also looked, but we still got nothing. All we know is that he had been on the borders of Suna and Konoha about 2 weeks ago. I'm really sorry, Minato-sensei. We all tried really hard. Kakashi told him and set down the reports for him to look through. End of flashback. Naruto. Naruto was found by the young woman who was the one crying out about something or someone back at the village. After none of the bandits came back, she got worried for the little boy, so she went to look for him to see if he was okay, but she had never in her life expected to see all the bandits unconscious or dead laying on the ground all around the young blonde boy with black streaks who had saved her by pure accident. She was slightly horrified, so she went to check out the boy if he was okay or not. Konoha. Noriko lay upon her bed staring at her ceiling in deep thought about what had happened a few days ago and how she got slapped. She thought about the brother she had made miserable and the parents Nanami and her unconsciously manipulated into neglecting said brother. Noriko was at a loss for what to do. Her brother left, and it was all Nanami and her fault. She felt so helpless.
Sure, she didn't completely love her brother and she was jealous of him, but she never saw herself as a bad person. I wish I could change what I have caused, but I can't. The weight of her words hung heavy in the air of her room. A few tears slipped out her eyes as she now saw herself as the monster who tormented her brother's dreams and stood in way of his goals. She wanted to change that image, but she knew it was true and she could only try and atone for her deeds. It will be Naruto's choice to forgive her and them when they see him again. Naruto. The young woman decided to take him back to her village and into her home because she couldn't let the child lay there where he had been laying between the bandits and all the blood. When she got home, her younger sister, who was about 6, was waiting for her by their kitchen window open slightly. Tasuki Ne-chan. I saw those bandits harassing you. And that boy my age stopped them. The little girl yelled. She had blood-red hair and dark forest green eyes. It was obvious that the two sisters didn't share any resemblance, but that didn't mean much to either sister because even though they were clearly not blood-related, they were just as close as sisters normally are. What? You were watching that? Oh, Akari-chan. I'm so sorry you had to see that. But now we have to attend to this poor boy and help him. The now identified Tasuki told her sister, who only now noticed the boy in her arms who drew the attention away from her big sister when those bandits were worrying her. Her eyes looked at him curiously and in slight wonder at his bravery. That's the same boy from earlier. What happened to him, Ne-chan? Did he get hurt? Did those bandits hurt him? Akari shot out questions as she ran to help her Oni-chan with the boy. They brought him to Akari's room and put him on the bed before Tasuki told Akari to get a bucket of warm water and a cloth to wipe off the blood and dirt he had on him. They tentatively cleaned him and took all his clothes except his underpants to wash and mend so he can wear them again when he wakes up. For now though, Tasuki had Akari watch him while she cooked them some food for dinner and hung up the black streaked blonde's clothes to get dry properly. They also found his black bag and cleaned it off and putting it one side in Akari's room. The next morning, Naruto stirred in the bed and his messy black streaked hair fell out of his face to show his violet amethyst eyes opening slowly and blinking in confusion before realization kicked in and he remembered what happened. He turned deathly pale and he felt like throwing up. Just then Akari and Tasuki walked in and rushed to him, seeing as he was now awake, and sat him up, then gave him a glass of water. Hey Whisker-kun. How are you feeling? What's your name? Why did you have blood on you? Did the bandits leave? Why were you alone? Where's your family? Why weren't they with you? Do you have siblings? Why are you looking so pale? Are you sick? Is your tummy sore? Your eyes are so pretty. Tasuki Oni-chan, isn't his eyes pretty? Akari interrogated him without giving him a chance to respond before shooting off another question. Akari-chan. Let him answer one at a time. I'm sure he is trying to sort out his thoughts. Tasuki reprimanded her adopted sister with a sigh while shaking her head in amusement with her sister's outbursts. Akari had the decency to blush in embarrassment at getting scolded in front of the boy they were nursing yesterday afternoon, who had finally woken up. My name's Naruto, thanks for helping me even though I didn't deserve it. Naruto said softly, letting his hair shade his eyes that were full of tears of remorse, remembering he killed those men with his eyes unknowingly with genjutsu. He felt so ashamed of himself, thinking that Katsumi would be so angry and ashamed of him for killing the bandits with the art of genjutsu that her clan used. Naruto-kun, you didn't do anything wrong. It was those bad men who were bandits that raids our village that were wrong. You saved me from disgrace when those men went after you instead of me. Tasuki argued with a frown at his lifeless-like attitude, and Akari nodded besides her with a huge smile on her face. I killed them. I didn't mean to. My fear, they looked into my eyes. I didn't mean to use genjutsu on them, just I was so scared and, it just happened, from my eyes. I was so confused, but I felt, my chakra in my eyes, and I just knew. Naruto said before he broke down in tears for what he did while the two girls were shocked at what he told them. They didn't know how to make him feel better, but they didn't look at him differently either.
Naruto-kun. That is so unfortunate that this happened to you at such a young age. I don't know if this will help, but those men are the same ones who killed our parents in front of us a year ago. They enjoyed hurting our parents and laughed when they stabbed them to death.
So they were bad people, and if you killed them with this genjutsu that you accidentally used with your eyes in your fearful state of mind, then you saved us all from their wicked nature of killing for fun.
To cry and feel the weight of doing something wrong means that you showing remorse for what you've done. My birth parents told me this, and they were both ninja once, but they died by the hands of ninja when I was 9.
I'm 21 now and I still believe in what they said even after I was adopted into this family at the age of 11, and they always cared for me as if I was their own daughter even when Akari was born from my adoptive parents 5 years ago, and when they died by the hands of those bandits last year, then entrusted me with their only blood-related daughter. Tasuki told her story to Naruto, who listened quietly with wide eyes.
I'm sorry, Tasuki-san. Akari-san. Thank you for sharing your story with me and making me see clearer. I understand now that is the life of a shinobi. I will keep your words in my heart. Naruto said, wiping away his tears. Even though he still felt guilty and ashamed, he knew that he'd have to figure out everything as he goes along, but he also knew he couldn't mope around because he had goals that he had set for himself and he wasn't about to stray from his path. Naruto-kun? Are you okay now? You not so pale anymore, and your eyes don't look so sad anymore. Will you stay with us, Naruto-kun? Akari lightened the room with her questions, and Naruto found himself smiling lightly. Tasuki just shook her head in amusement of her adopted sister, who had started grinning at him again, the somber mood getting to her.
Hi, I'm feeling better now, Akari-san, but I can't stay with the two of you. You have done enough for me and I must leave again to get stronger so I can see my goals through to the end. Naruto told them, looking down at his hands in his lap, bowing his head in gratitude to the two sisters who had looked after him while he had been unconscious. Huh, but you can't leave just yet. You just came here yesterday. Please don't leave so soon, Naruto-kun. Tasuki Ne-chan, tell him he can't leave yet. Akari nagged with a pout on her face, looking at Tasuki, who patted her head with a sigh and smiled softly down at her younger sister. I'm sure Naruto-kun needs to rest up for at least a week before he leaves, so until then he'll be staying with us and we'll take care of him, and I'm sure the two of you can play around and become friends before he has to leave again. Is that acceptable? Tasuki told her sister while Naruto's mouth went agape, and Akari nodded happily at her sister with a wide grin. Yay. We gonna have so much fun, and I'm gonna show you all around the village, and then we can play games and we can go swim, and oh, Tasuki Ne-chan makes awesome food and we gonna make you all better before you leave again, and oh, everything is gonna be so awesome, and, Akari never got to finish as Tasuki cut her off. And we going to leave so Naruto-kun can get some rest and something to eat, since I'm sure he's famished and in need of something to eat. Say bye to Naruto-kun for now. Tasuki laughed as her sister's face turned tomato red and puffed out her cheeks before nodding and saying she'll see him later in the day to ask some questions again. Konoha. Minato punched the training post at his training field in his compound with frustration and stress. His knuckles were bloody and his clothes were stuck to him from sweat, and his blue eyes were ringed red from tears, and he collapsed onto the ground, running a hand through his blonde hair with his eyes closed. He felt so angry at himself because of his family that was falling apart into tiny pieces, and he felt he was utterly helpless to do anything about it. His only son was crippled because of him. His only son had suffered negligence because of him. His only son left because of him. He only had one son. And now he was gone. Because of him. And they couldn't find him anywhere.
Some father I am. Senju compound. Different pictures of a smiling blonde boy with violet amethyst eyes littered the floors everywhere. He was in every picture with different poses. Empty sake bottles littered the floors in piles here and there.
In many of the pictures, 5 women were always at least once in every picture. One with blonde hair, one with dark brown hair, one with dark navy blackish blue hair, one with graying brown hair, and one with dark graying hair. If names were to be added to each of them, it would go in this order: Tsunade, Shizune, Makoto, Katsum, and Bawako. In the lounge we would find 2 of the 5 women laying drunk on the floor, this being Tsunade and Shizune.
Hospital. Bawako sat in the head medic office behind the desk. She wore a frown as she looked over reports and files for the glowing purple rock that rests in the research lab, which is the size of a boulder that is utterly impenetrable. After all, they tried everything to break that thing apart. Something nagged at the back of her head that this was familiar somehow. She let out a sigh and put down the papers.
She looked out the window onto the Hokage monument and gazed at her late husband's face sculptured upon the mountain before her eyes slid to the 4th face and her frown deepened as she thought about the certain little blonde that looked almost identical with his blonde hair to the man she had lost much respect for.
Everything so far had gone wrong when the girls were given their way. More than. She turned away from the window because she had better things that had to be done, important things. It would be pointless to ponder and point fingers at others.
Kurama clan compound. Oba-san, are you okay? Do you want some tea? Can I do anything for you, Oba-san? A little red-headed girl with bright dark brown eyes asked the elder sitting by the window watching the birds. This little girl was the elder's granddaughter and also a girl who had a lot of raw potential and enhanced genjutsu prowess that could use genjutsu that affect the body or bodies of the person or people her genjutsus are used on.
Hi. I'm fine, Yakumo-chan. Just thinking on a few things I hope to see in the future if I live until then. Why don't you get me the tea for now then, my child? This old bat is terribly parched and we wouldn't want me coughing my lungs up on this beautiful redwood floors now, would we? The elder asked her granddaughter, who immediately shook her head and rushed off to the kitchen for the traditional tea set. The old woman's honey-colored eyes wrinkled at the corners as they sparkled with mythical amusement, with a pinch of sadness hidden in her eyes. Katsume Kurama couldn't deny that the future would be a sight to behold if she lived long enough.
Uchiha compound. The head of the clan and his wife sat outside in silence. Neither spoke their thoughts, yet both spoke their mind. As confusing as it would seem, it has been like this for the past few days between the couple. This is the scene their son, Itachi, walked into with his heavy heart. Makoto glanced at her eldest child, as did Fugaku. Both looked questionably at him, awaiting his report.
Itachi-chan, please tell me you've got good news for us, please, Makoto pleaded to her son with tears in her eyes while Fugaku just held her hand in support with his own. Itachi inwardly winced. Naruto leaving had taken its toll on both his mother and father, including him. He took a breath. He might as well inform them and get it over with for now. He hated seeing his mother like this, especially since she is pregnant.
Ka-san, Tu-sama. It is to my utter disappointment to inform you that we have still found absolutely nothing with regards to Naruto-kun's whereabouts, and for now Minato-sama has had to decrease the search for a time being. We just know that there had been signs he was on Suna's borders, but furthermore nothing else has been found. I am sorry to disappoint. Itachi spoke to them in a soft but firm tone that held respect. Makoto bowed her head and whispered her thanks to her son while Fugaku sighed and nodded in defeat. Despite being the clan head, he had his moments that he could care less about composure and status. Itachi took that as his cue to leave his mother and father alone again.
Namikaze compound. Nanami sat by the koi pond and looked down at her reflection.
Her cheek still stung, as if the bruise that had healed up was still there from a few days ago, but she guessed it was just one of those things. Nanami watched as the fishes swam across her reflection in the pond, and her thoughts started wandering to that of her only brother who left them because they had all been so terrible to him. Noriko and herself had been the main causes, she was sure of that. After all, they had treated him like trash, and now look at where it has gotten them.
Naruto ni, I wish I could apologize, but I can't because I know I was jealous and I still am. Everyone saw you as a coming protege, but Noriko and I didn't like that.
I am ashamed that we always were so evil to you, but the next time we see each other I will apologize deeply for our family's actions towards you, but I don't expect you to forgive us. I know everyone else will, but I don't, because even though we will try to be better, we will never fully succeed because this is who we are. Nanami's thoughts were deep and very intelligent, but then again it's expected when your father was a protege. Naruto. Our black-streaked blonde lay awake staring deeply at the ceiling of the house of the two girls he'd befriended accidentally. He thought on everything so far that he had done. From the perfect escape plan succeeding to the words of Tasuki-san after he killed those bandits and Akari-san's total lookover of what he'd done even if it was accidental. Both of these girls had given him much to think over for a while and he needed to start training again.
He didn't know what to make of the dark-headed woman with short hair and gray eyes. Tasuki-san was emotionally stronger than anyone he'd ever seen and he could only hope to one day be the same. Yet he wondered how she managed it all because not only did her biological parents die by an enemy, her adoptive parents died in front of her and she is helpless to do anything other than trying to protect their biological daughter. Akari-san was another mystery on her own. The girl his age was so bubbly and upbeat even though she witnessed her parents' death. He wondered what made her keep being happy despite the terrible thing of watching your parents die before you at the tender age of 5. She was simply at ease with everything and you could see she took after her adopted sister. Naruto sighed and closed his eyes as his brain tried to work out how he had managed to use genjutsu through his eyes, but unfortunately for him he could only come up with one answer, and that would be that the chemicals he had used have caused this, and now he could only wonder what other changes the chemicals did to his body. Unknown to the violet-eyed boy, this had all been the doing of the green chakra that had become part of him and his chakra system. Konoha. Hyuga compound. Hinata sat quietly in the garden with Neji. Her mother, who would normally sit with her, was busy because she was pregnant and due to give birth in 5 months' time. Hinata's fingers moved slowly as she made a flower crown. Neji sat to her left side and watched her with clear moon-colored eyes. Hinata let out a long huff of air when her crown broke again for the 4th time. She had been trying to take her mind off of recent things, but she couldn't help it. Hinata-sama? Is everything okay? Are you getting another vision? Or are you thinking on something troubling? Neji asked as politely as he could while looking at her questionably. Hinata looked up at the pale blue sky. Not a cloud in sight and the sun shone brightly as if all was happy and perfect. She turned away from the sky and looked at her cousin. Neji-ni-san. I can't help it and I keep thinking about Naruto-kun and the reasons he left us all. I miss seeing him around us. But I can tell without a doubt that we will see him again in the future. Hinata's words rung in the air, carrying away all its secrets. She looked at Neji and smiled. Unknown place. The same man as before sat with a book and on the title diary of Uzumaki Kushina.
He chuckled gleefully and his dark eyes could be seen glinting wickedly. A door on the side of this dark room opened, sending a light in the room, and you could now make out the color of his eyes. They were a dark purple, almost black. A wicked grin spread across his lips, for the only features shown in the light were his lips and dark purple eyes. A tall, lean figure walked in the room with file. The figure kneeled on the floor in a deep bow.
My lord, I have all the data collected together just like you asked of me. There were no problems on the way either. I hope you are satisfied? The figure, now identified as male by his deep voice, spoke in a respectful tone to the other man that was in the room. A sinister laugh was heard before a sound of liquid hitting the floors and walls was heard, followed by a thumping sound on the floor. Glowing purple eyes peered down at the dead man on the floor. Indeed I am. A few pieces have yet to move on this chessboard. Our favorite mysterious male voice of malice was heard as it rung throughout the hallways and the candles flickered. Glowing purple eyes flashed in sick, fascinated amusement at the dead body before him and his thoughts about his plans for the future. 3 weeks had passed since Naruto first met Tasuki and Akari, who later introduced him to the rest of the villagers as the person who got rid of the bandits that were raiding the village. The village itself was nice. They had a few shops and 1 or 2 restaurants. The villagers were very friendly and kind to him, or maybe it was because he saved them from the bandits who raided the town frequently. Despite that, Naruto enjoyed being in the village itself with all its people. The villagers had at first been hesitant because he was so young, but soon accepted it as fact and praised him, calling him their little hero. The village children all wanted to be his friends and he accepted their friendships with a smile. However, every night for the first week he had sat up thinking upon everything he had done so far, and when he went to sleep he was plagued by nightmares until one night Akari started helping him get over his night terrors. However, nothing was as terrifying as the situation he currently found himself in. Akari-chan, please stop crying. Tasuki ne-chan, what do I do? Please help me, I dunno what to do. What should I do? Tasuki ne-chan. Naruto was currently being used as a tissue for poor Akari-chan, who was utterly distraught over one fact, and that is he had to leave in a day or so to continue to Uzu, and she didn't want him to go. So she was currently begging him to stay with her or take her with him, and he just couldn't remove the crying girl from his shirt. Whether it be from manners or from lack of strength, he wasn't quite sure. Naruto-kun. I'm sure you can figure out what to do. You are a smart boy, aren't you? Use your intelligence. Anyway, see you two later. I'll be at the market. I have some things to buy, so be good children and behave yourselves while I'm gone. And with that, Tasuki left him to the horror that was a snotty, sobbing Akari. Naruto stared at the door in horror when Tasuki left. He began sweating fast. He would be turned blue soon. He knew by Akari's death grip around his chest, because he couldn't even breath properly. It was as if he was trying to strangle him to death and not actually begging him to stay. Naruto-kun, please don't go. Stay here, or take me with. Help me. Naruto-kun. Help. Konoha. The blonde Hokage sat behind his desk looking over paperwork and mission reports. He had been slacking off just a bit since his son ran away from Konoha. 3 weeks ago he sent out a message to all the ninja villagers in the elemental nations stating if they see his son they must immediately notify him and keep his son until someone from Konoha fetches him. That was all he could do now, that and waiting. Namikaze compound. 2 girls sat together on a bench in the gardens of their compound. Not a word was said between them, but enough was thought. A number of thoughts ran through their heads. The main one they shared was the fact that they had to be put into a coma so that their bodies could survive the chakra surges the Kyuubi was giving them. Flashback. Ka-san, where are we going? To-san, what's going on? Nanami questioned in her confusion. Noriko, who was walking besides her, looked at their father for an answer since none came from their mother. Minato just sighed, seeing how Kushina wasn't going to answer their questions, since she was doing her best to speak to them as little as possible as punishment for both the girls and herself as their mother. We going to a special chamber so that we can put the 2 of you in a coma so that we can force the Kyuubi's chakra to surge throughout your bodies so that when the time comes neither of you will die from using its chakra. Do not argue with this. This is for the best for both of you and the village, since you had decided to force your brother through the surges you were supposed to go through. Be happy. The only thing we doing is not allowing you to train for a year and a half for doing what you did and acting how you did. With that, Minato ended the conversation with no room for arguments. End of flashback. Naruto. Our favorite black-streaked blonde boy sat on the bed he had been using since he got there. His next stop would be Uzu. He felt sad to leave Tasuki and Akari, who has been very good to him. He wished that they would be able to come with him to the Uzu ruins. However, he knew he couldn't ask them to leave their home here, especially since his future journeys will possibly be dangerous. The room door opened and Tasuki walked in with a small sad smile on her face. She placed a bundle of clothes she washed that belonged to him on the bed as she sat next to him. Naruto-kun, Akari doesn't want you to leave us. I won't say stay here with us because I know there is something you wish to fulfill. However, I would like to offer you a companion on your journey. I won't be able to join you, but I believe Akari would be delighted to travel and train with you. She doesn't wish for her Oni-chan to be alone and face dangers by himself. She came to me earlier to plead with me to allow her to go with you, and I said I'll only agree if you agree. So Naruto-kun, would you like Akari to join you? Tasuki grinned when she seen his face brighten up with a shocked look and a grin following it. Just then a red tornado burst into the room. Naruto-kun. Please, can I come with you? Take me with, I want to help you, Oni-chan. Akari yelled as she threw herself at Naruto, nearly choking him in the process while she used her best puppy dog eyes on him. Naruto, however, just pulled her off himself and put a frown on his face and crossed his arms before shaking his head as if to say no. Her face fell quickly and tears formed in her eyes while her lips stuck out. No, Akari-chan, I would not like to have you join me on my trip to Uzu and wherever else. I would love you to join me and keep me company. And as a training partner, Naruto said with a happy tone and a small smile on his face. But his face was soon turning blue with lack of oxygen because Akari hugged him tightly again in a death grip. Yay! Thank you, Naruto-kun. Tasuki-chan, he said yes. He said yes. Yay! Hooray! When can I pack? Tasuki-ne-chan, what should I take with me? I can take a bag, right, Naruto-kun? Akari was shooting off questions and doing happy dances everywhere, making Naruto grin and Tasuki laugh. Konoha. Tsunade, you can't be serious. You want to leave for half a year? What if something happens? Sorry, Tsunade, but I can't allow you to go again on a drinking and gambling break. If this is to do with my son, and I think it is. What if we find him hurt or something and you not here to help? Things can go very wrong if you aren't here to help us, Tsunade. Minato stated firmly. He was not going to let this woman leave so suddenly. Whenever she pleases, she should know that they needed her medical expertise in the village. How dare you? I've done nothing but good for you and this village. I saved countless lives and helped birth your children. One of them which you never even noticed until now. You also seem to forget I'm a Sannin and we have permission from the Fire Lord to roam the elemental nations without restrictions as long as we don't partake as high crimes against the nations. So as a matter of fact you can't keep me here. Tsunade's voice shook with fury as she shook her fist and smashed the desk Minato was seated behind. His face fell for a split second before he sighed and sat back in his chair with a stern look on his face. Fine. You may leave for the 6 months and do what you please, however should we need you back here you have to come back. That's all I ask, otherwise. Look out for Naruto. Minato said. He got up from his chair as Tsunade left and stood by the window looking over Konoha. He didn't even know what to do anymore. Everything was just going wrong and a lot of it was his own fault. Naruto. It was finally the day Naruto would set out to Uzu and now he had a companion to boot. He was both happy and sad, happy for having someone on his journey with him but sad to go from the village. To him this was strange because when he ran away from Konoha he didn't really feel sad. Sure, he felt a twig of sadness because he'd missed Tsunade and the others who cares for him, but now it was a different story with this village. He might be a very intelligent child, but when it came to his feelings he got confused and lost. Akari was standing on Naruto's right side with her own backpack. She wore a short green dress and black ninja sandals that Naruto borrowed her. She also had her up in a ponytail. Akari was bouncing with excitement and wore a huge smile on her face. She was really happy to go with Naruto Oni-chan on his journey to Uzu and all the other places he was going to. The villagers were all gathered around and Tasuki was standing right in the front of the crowd of people. She was smiling brightly and the sun was shining in the background. They were all at the village entrance to see Naruto and Akari off on their journey. Some of the children looked a bit jealous of the two of them. Now Naruto, I want you two to be careful, okay? Don't put yourselves in unnecessary danger. Tasuki told him in a playful tone, knowing that it was very likely that they would get into trouble, especially since Akari was going with because she is like a very curious kitten. Tasuki could only hope that they didn't die or get too hurt. Okay, Tasuki-ne-chan. I promise to protect Akari from any trouble. We'll come visit again, Naruto said with conviction. Akari pulled her tongue out at Tasuki and she rolled her eyes. Naruto smiled at the two of them and their actions. Konoha. Hinata practiced her katas with Neji while her father watched them in contemplation. The clan head thought about the recent events with the Hokage's son, Naruto. This made so much problems since his daughter's gift showed her troublesome things and she was constantly worrying about her only other friend who happened to be Naruto. Hinata, that's enough today. The two of you may leave for now. Hisashi told the two children who just finished off a set of katas. They both bowed and excused themselves quietly like they were taught to. This left the clan head by himself drinking green tea on the patio, letting him continue thinking about the problems. Hyuga compound Hinata's room. Neji ni-san, don't tell Oto Usama, but I had a vision about Naruto-kun. He was standing at huge red gates at a village entrance, but the gates and walls looked damaged and run down, but at the top there was a sign like our village sign, only it was the Uzumaki symbol. I think I know where Naruto-kun is going, and in my vision there was a red-headed girl too. Hinata said excitedly to Neji with a smile on her face. Neji wore a face of shock before he also smiled. And where is he going? Uzu no Taisho, the home of the Uzumaki clan. Let's not tell anyone then, since it was his choice to leave. I won't, Ni-san. Let's train hard to see him again then, Ni-san. Yes, let's do so, Hinata-sama. Has been 2 months since I left the village I helped out with Akari. Being 8 years old is tough to do such things in the little amount of time it has been since I left Konoha. I am happy to have Akari with me as my companion, as well as my new friend Kurosuke. We met accidentally and became friends, but it took time for him to trust us. Let's see. Flashback. The boat rocked as I sat down. Akari slept while I watched out for anything. The weather was calm for now, but the closer we get the more rough the sea will get. At least that's what I found out about Uzu. They are surrounded by whirlpools, and only an Uzumaki's blood can stop the whirlpools until you get to the island. Even on the map it shows swirls where the whirlpools are, so I wasn't expecting anything, so it is pretty easy to fall asleep, and so my eyes closed. Huh. I didn't know there's anyone out here. That was a male's voice. I laid very still. I wonder who this is. I hope he doesn't have any bad intentions. Those were my thoughts until I got kicked in the arm and my eyes shot open. I was hardly expecting what I saw. A boy no older than Akari and myself loomed over me. He had pitch black hair and ice blue eyes, and his clothes looked slightly worn out. Hey, I'm speaking to you. Who are you? Why are you going in the direction of Uzu? The strange boy spoke to me, and I found myself wondering who he is and why was he out here by himself. My name's Uzumaki Naruto. I'm going to Uzu to train and learn about the Uzumaki clan. Who are you? And how did you get onto our boat in the middle of the sea? I spoke my thoughts for the moment, and I watched as his eyes narrowed at me as if looking for some kind of lie in my words. I'm Katsuno Kurosuke. I'm running away from people that is trying to kill me. I ran on the water and came across your boat. Kurosuke told me while he stared me in the eyes. I really don't know what to do in such a situation. Should I help, or would it cause more trouble for me in the end? I don't even know if I can trust this guy. So you don't have bad intentions towards us? You just willing to move on? I asked. It's pretty obvious this guy doesn't trust me either, so I won't beat around the bush. I might be 8, but even I know to be cautious of strangers and people. That was the plan, but since you going to Uzu, which is really hard to get into even though it's in ruins, I decided to go with you. Besides, you look like a shrimp. And I need a place to hide and get stronger too, said Kurosuke. Huh? Is this person serious? We just met, how could he just decide something like that? What? How can you just decide something like that? We just met, I don't even know you, and I'm not a shrimp for your information. The words just flew from my mouth. It was as if my tongue had a mind of its own. So what? Just because I decided to go with you guys doesn't mean I trust you. You just be helping me hide for the time being. It's really no big deal, I won't even steal from you. I'll just keep to myself, and you are a shrimp because you a bit shorter than me, he said with a smirk in my direction. Everyone believes I'm a really calm person, but I am still a child and I do get riddled up for certain things. Example, this situation. You have some nerve. How can you just up and decide something like that? Shouldn't you think this through? And stop calling me a shrimp? I must keep calm. I must keep calm. I must keep calm. You don't want me dying somewhere, do you? I'm only 8. I have a life ahead of me. Besides, we might even become friends, shrimp, Kurosuke said, sighing with his arms crossed. Honestly, this guy. A minute ago he was arrogant and now he looks so down. Fine, you can come with us to train in Uzu, but no funny business, I told him, and he smirked at me. Honestly, I'm starting to feel a bit stressed out now. Hey shrimp, do you have anything to eat? Don't call me that. I can call you what I want, shrimp, this guy. End of flashback. Hey Shrimp, when are we getting supplies again? Kurosuke said, coming towards me. I sighed internally. This guy? Normal Pav. The 3 8-year-olds rested against an oak tree. They all wore shorts and a loose t-shirt which were slightly messy and dirty after they just finished their morning warm-up session, which involved stretching, jogging, push-ups, sit-ups, dodging and balancing. They were taking a 30-minute break before starting their training. Naruto Oni-chan, Kurosuke-kun, I'm going to get some water, do you want some too? Akari asked the two boys as she got up. Both of them said yes, and then she was on her way towards the river just a yard away from where they were currently. This left the two boys in silence, making both of them a bit more serious. Naruto? I've been thinking about something for the past week since that incident when Akari and me found out about your past. At first I was angry you never told us about it because I thought we were finally friends now after you said so. I didn't even think your family would act like that towards you. I mean, you know about my past, that my family was killed because they didn't believe that my family was innocent, and now they want to kill me too even though I didn't do anything either. But after thinking about everything properly, I decided I'll help you since you're my only friend other than Akari. Kurosuke said all this to Naruto while looking away with his arms folded. Kurosuke. Thanks. You are my friend, and even though it's been only 2 months, I trust Akari and you with my life.
I was just scared to tell you guys about my past and that I wanted to get revenge against them. Every day we study in the Uzumaki library, and the more I think about getting back at them, the more I think I shouldn't only focus on that. And I finally get that protecting people is also one of the best ways of getting back at the and making a name for myself in the shinobi world. So will you help me? Because I can't do everything by myself. Naruto said, turning to the dark-headed boy next to him.
Okay, I'll definitely be by your side along with Akari. But it better not be boring, Kurosuke mumbled with a small smile on his face, and Naruto smiled as well. Neither of them noticed Akari was returning, but that was okay for now because everything would be alright. Konoha. A pink-headed girl sat on a park swing by herself and thought about the blonde boy who came out of nowhere like a knight and rescued her from the bullies who constantly haunted her every day of every week. His blonde hair that had streaks in it had glimmered in the setting sun, while his purple eyes glowed like a gem in the dark. He had stood tall against the bullies. He showed her that she just needed to stand tall and be strong. That is why she had been looking for him, but the adults all said he ran away because of family problems. There was even a rumor saying that he ran away because he wasn't treated well by his family. I wonder where you are, Naruto-kun, she mumbled, looking up to the sky with her forest green eyes. Konoha Hospital. It has been more or less 2 months since Tsunade and Shizune left on a vacation, and during that time Bawako was made head of the hospital until Tsunade got back. Currently Kushina was in the office getting her results back since she had been sick lately, and she was a bit hesitant to just outright believe it was what she thought it is without consulting a doctor first. Well, as you know, I have your results, which is why I called you here, Bawako told the redhead while gesturing her to take a seat before she dropped any kind of bomb on the woman who already had a fragile state of mind since finding out why her only son left and ran somewhere out of her reach. So what are my results, Bawako-san? Is it a stomach bug of some sort? Kushina's asked, her voice shook under a trained ear. The family she had dreamed of with Minato was shattered and twisted into a nightmare, and if this was what she thought it was, she didn't know what to do. Kushina, let's not beat around the bush. I am confirming your suspicions. Kushina, you are a month pregnant. Congratulations. You and Minato only have 2 choices right now. Redemption, by raising your children you have that is currently in this village the right way and treat them all equally, or do the same thing the 2 of you did to Naruto to both your girls you have and your unborn baby. Bawako told her with a straight face, putting down Kushina's medical file on the desk. Kushina's eyes widened in shock and she sank into the chair while crying and laughing at the same time. Bawako sighed and waited for the younger woman to calm down. Uchiha Training Grounds. A figure laid on the grass near the river bank. Onyx black eyes stared up at the cloudless sky, deep in thought. A small sigh escaped the figure's lips and he pulled himself up into a seated position. His pitch-black hair that was normally in a low ponytail swayed in the light breeze as his thoughts focused on one thing: the Uchiha clan. Itachi had been getting more pressured lately by the clan elders and his father, but he refused to buckle under their selfish desires for the clan. He knew they were planning something concerning the Hokage and the village, something that without a doubt will end up in disaster for not just the village but the clan too. His thoughts would have continued if he didn't notice his cousin's presence. "Shisui, council?" Itachi asked as another dark-headed boy appeared behind him. "Damn it. You sensed me. And yeah, those fossils are calling again," Shisui replied with annoyance. Shisui had short curly black hair and wore an annoyed look which was different from his unusually large grin he normally wears compared to all the other Uchihas. "Hey, it looks like there'll be a storm soon. The sky's gone all dark and cloudy," he told Itachi after looking up at the sky. "Yes. There will be one soon," Itachi said before getting up and walking away towards the council chamber from the training grounds. Shisui jogged to catch up with the younger Uchiha heir. "Hey, now I get the feeling we aren't talking about the same thing here, right, Itachi? Ida-chan. Don't ignore me, Ida Chann. Uchiha main house. Sasuke-chan, where are you, my baby?" Makoto called from the kitchen where she was making dinner for herself and her 3 boys in the house. Her belly protruding slightly, showing she was about 4 months pregnant with the soon-to-be new addition to the Uchiha family in the house. "Okawa-san. I told you to stop calling me that. I'm not a baby. You're the one having a baby, which is gonna be my little brother or sister. And I was just in the lounge," Sasuke said, pouting with his arms crossed across his chest, trying the famous Uchiha glare on his mother. Makoto just laughed at how cute he is. Then a memory suddenly struck her of Naruto and her chest suddenly felt heavy again and she let out a sigh. Yeah, big man. Go set the table for me, okay, Okawa-san." Namikaze compound. A red-streaked blonde-headed girl with navy blue eyes sat under the tree her brother always sat when he was still with them. Noriko thought more about her wrongdoings towards her brother. All the things she had done wrong haunted her day in and day out, even though she had made a promise to change herself. Which is why she sometimes sat under this tree that he always used to sit under. She wanted to be stronger so she can also search for Naruto and apologize to him. Thinking about Naruto, she remembered the day Nanami and her met the Kyuubi no Yoko. Flashback. They were just put into the coma so that the yokai could flow through their bodies without hurting them physically or making them go berserk and kill everyone. Minato and Kushina stood to the side after the seals were activated and waited in case anything went wrong so they can step in and help. As the 2 girls closed their eyes and everything went dark, it was as if they heard a grunt of annoyance in the back of their minds. It wasn't much later that they ended up in their own different mindscape. Noriko found herself in a field-like place with a huge cage with chains on every bar. Nanami found herself in a sewer-like place and a cage in front of her. Noriko. "So my host grants me the pleasure of meeting me for the first time, huh? How distasteful you are, host. How distasteful. And sad." A voice came from the cage which was misty with fog. A single vibrant red eye was seen through the most. Noriko took a step back from shock at how huge the eye itself was and how light the voice sounded. "Who are you? Are you the Kyuubi?" asked Noriko. A laugh came from beyond the cage as if mocking Noriko, whose face turned pale with fright. "Of course. Who else were you expecting? The Ichibi? Although I'm split in 2, it doesn't mean I'm any less powerful," the Yin Kyuubi said, coming out of the mist with a bright red fur coat and 9 tails swaying behind. His huge white teeth bore down at her with a grin. "What? Why am I here?" Noriko asked the fox before her while she looked at him with awe and fright.
"Why? Because I summoned you here, human. See, although I'm the yin half of the Kyuubi, I have decided to help you on 2 conditions. Seeing as how pitiful you 2 girls are, my other half agreed we rather not have you 2 as our hosts, but at the moment that can't be helped, so the conditions is as such. We will help the 2 of you as long as you agree to one." Not forcefully take out chakra and 2. We'll talk about it at a later date. Hee. Be gone now, human.
Flashback end. Makoto walked towards the Namikaze compound in thought.
Her 7-month round belly sticking out as she made her way into the compound since her chakra was keyed into the protective seal. A few hours ago she had decided to be the better person and speak to Kushina about everything. After all, they had been friends for years now. Makoto thought about Naruto and how she came to love him like her own son, but quickly stopped her train of thought as it would lead her to cry, especially more so since her hormones were jumping up and down.
Makoto knocked on the door that she now stood in front of and waited for someone to answer the door. She didn't wait too long as the door was opened by Nariko. The girl who was once one of her adoptive son's tormentors looked up at her with shocked eyes. Makoto suddenly felt like turning around and walking away from her friend's home, but she held her resolve. Nariko. I'm here to speak with your mother. May I come in? Asked Makoto, looking down at the younger girl. Nariko opened her mouth but decided against saying anything and just nodded her head and opened the door wider for Makoto to go in as she went to inform her mother that Makoto was there to see her. Makoto walked into the lounge and seen Kushina sit up from her laying position when she walked in. She took in Kushina's body language and immediately knew there was something wrong. However, Makoto ignored that for now. Makoto took a seat opposite her childhood friend who stared at her, waiting for the dark-headed woman to speak, and Makoto didn't disappoint. Kushina. I wish to speak about Naruto-kun. Uchiha compound. Hey Itachi. Let's go out. It's so boring here. Come on man. It's so nice out in the village today, let's go find something to do. Said Shisui, tugging on the Uchiha heir. Itachi however wanted peace of mind, but Shisui wouldn't leave him alone. In Itachi's mind his best friend was being noisy again, but then again he was always noisy. Fine. Where would you like to go, Shisui? And no, we won't go look for a girl for me. Or you for that matter. Itachi sighed when Shisui started dancing in victory until he heard the last part of his sentence and started pouting. Itachi's hand flashed out quickly and smacked his friend on the back of his head, before walking out his house, hearing Shisui's cries of being mean. The two Uchihas walked through the village for a while with Shisui talking about random stuff and Itachi trying to block out his loud older cousin and his stupidity. They eventually decided to go to the dango shop that the snake mistress normally always had. Shisui ordered some dango while Itachi ordered some porky. Hey Itachi, do you think we'll find that brat? Aunt was really sad we couldn't find him last time. I mean, I miss the little guy and I know you do too. He was like a little brother to us, even though you already have a brother. Remember when Aunt brought him home and told us to cheer him up when Kushina-san forgot him at the park? Ha ha ha. He was so easy to tease. Shisui laughed lightly with a slightly sad look in his eyes. Itachi kept silent throughout what his friend said. Naruto is fine. I'm sure of it. He'll come back when he's ready to. Itachi murmured softly and continued to eat his porky whilst gazing out the window. Shisui reached out to steal some of Itachi's porky, but Itachi's hand shot out and grabbed his friend's wrist and turned to him with demonic eyes. No one touches my porky. Oi, Uchihas, that's my table, move before I let my snakes have a hearty meal of your balls. A purple-headed woman yelled out, already pulling out her snakes. Shisui paled and started sweating nervously, his wrist still in Itachi's grasp. Itachi just glanced in the woman's direction for a second before letting go of Shisui and disappeared with the rest of the porky. Ha! Enko. Hee. Shisui didn't say anything else as he bolted from his seat, forgetting he could shushin away from the crazy lady. Enko of course cracked up with evil laughter, before sending a shadow clone after him whilst she sat down and ordered a few plates of dango for herself, laughing harder when she heard the commotion outside. I'm just that good. Namikaze compound. Kushina and Makoto sat in silence after Makoto explained how she came to care for Naruto more than normal. Kushina let a few tears fall from her eyes, silently looking down at her hands in shame. Makoto didn't feel glad to bring her longtime friend to tears now that she was thinking with a calm mind. She actually felt slightly sorry for the woman opposite her. The feeling wasn't for the fact that she was in pain over this whole ordeal, it was because the woman was a fool for not seeing everything that was going on. Makoto. I'm such a bad mother. I don't deserve a son like Naruto. I should have seen what was going on. I shouldn't have treated him the way I did. And now. Oh Kami Makoto. What am I going to do now? I was so terrible. Surely I'll mess up again. Kushina cried out, balling her hands in her apron. Makoto frowned, not knowing exactly what's going on.
Kushina, what are you talking about? What do you mean you going to mess up again? What's going on? Makoto asked, confused at the red head across from her. Kushina shook with tears, her half-dead looking eyes swelled up with more and more tears, making her eyes red and her face puffy. Makoto's frown turned worse as she wondered what's going on. Finally Kushina told her what was wrong.
I'm 3 months pregnant. What? Kushina and Makoto turned around to the voice. A pair of shocked blue eyes met one pair of onyx black and one pair of puffy violet eyes. One word was uttered. Minato, Uzu Teisho.
The one and only Uzumaki Naruto sat meditating on his bed. He was uncertain with what to train in. They had just been doing stamina and endurance exercises. He did know for one he was always going to be dead set in Genjutsu and Fuinjutsu, that was long time determined. However, he didn't want to rely on just those two, and that's why right now he was at a dead end.
Hey, Shrimp. Let's go spar, come on now, you look bored in here. And I also think it will help us actually think of what to train in. Akari and I have guesses on what to train in, but we still unsure. So we think maybe a spar or two will help us settle on something, but really you can't just sit around here and meditate, it is boring. What are you, a grandpa? I mean, it's such a nice day to spar, but you are here instead. So we gonna drag you outta here to spar? Kurosuke demanded, just like any 8-year-old would, and Akari was right behind him nodding her head. Fine. Don't pull me. I'll come spar with you guys. You're so mean, just telling me what to do. Naruto pouted as he stopped his friends from dragging him out the room. In the back of his mind, he thought that just maybe they were right, even if they were being extra childish than they normally were. Yeah, maybe they are right. Oh yeah, Naruto-kun. I found this really pretty place the other day, it's on the other side of the island. I mean, it was really pretty. There was like this cave place thing, and when I went into it there were like this glow further in, and when I went to check it out I found this huge pool thingy that has this huge whirlpool thing in the middle of it, and it was like the water was glowing. It was so nice, and I want to show you guys. But I mean, after we spar, then we can do see it, cause I remembered the way there, but it was very tricky. So let's go spar quickly. Akari rambled on, bouncing up and down in excitement, and the two boys became curious about this so-called pretty place. Naruto's POV. After being dragged to the training area that we normally use, we decided to have an all-out spar where we all went against each other. Akari, Kurosuke and I stood facing each other in a triangle-like shape. We tensed up, and then like an explosion going off we moved. The rules were simple: no pairing up and no holding back. It was always the same rules, even when it was one-on-one. Kurosuke came at me with a punch. We went at it for about a minute before Akari cut in, fighting both of us at the same time while we tried to fight each other. Jumping back, I made hand seals as fast as I could for one of my less harmful genjutsus, the Demon Viewer. I found that in a scroll in the secret library we found last month. The genjutsu shows the person it is used on their worst nightmare. Of course, they broke out of it faster than before and attacked me again. Ducking under Akari's kick, I twisted into her guard and punched the air out of her. After training every day, we all got a little more mature, especially Akari, and we all grew in strength. One punch didn't keep her down because she bounced right back up after a few minutes, showing that the endurance training and everyday sparring that we did was paying off. Kurosuke moved out of the way as I let loose a kick at him. He quickly let me have a knuckle sandwich and my face stung with the hit, but I moved out of his range and performed another genjutsu called Paralyze. It stops the movement of the person it is used on. This time, however, I didn't wait for him to break it. I moved in quickly and had him surrender before doing the same to Akari, who I also put under the genjutsu. No fair. Naruto-kun, you know how to use jutsus faster than us. How come you beat us at everything? Even Kurosuke-kun isn't as good as you are. Akari whined as she pouted at me, and I felt my face heat up at her words. I wasn't that good at everything like she said I am. I guess I just train more than they do. It's hardly my fault, they rather go exploring than training most of the time. Ah, Akari, we know what he is thinking, that maybe if we trained more we would also be just as good as he is. Isn't that right, Shrimp? That's what you thinking, right? Kurosuke gave me a grin and I shook my head outwardly in denial. Inside I was thinking along the lines of, yes Kurosuke, that's exactly what I was thinking. How did you know? Anyway, Akari, you said you wanted to show us this place you found? We finished sparring now, so are we still going? I quickly changed the subject because I was avoiding any more of my thoughts being revealed to Akari, especially since most of the time Kurosuke says exactly what I'm thinking. He once told me his family taught him how to read people while he was still a baby, however I really don't see how a baby can learn something like that. Yeah, let's go see it now, come on guys, it's this way, let's go, Akari sung as she hopped along, pulling us with her to this place she found. Her excitement was contagious because I found myself more curious about this place, and I can't imagine Kurosuke wasn't curious too with the way his eyes gleamed and the grin he wore. He caught my eyes and his grin went wider. I was left wondering whether his face would eventually split. As we walked through the forest on the other side of the island, there was this tingling feeling in my stomach, and the closer we got to this place Akari was leading us to, the more the tingling got. It wasn't a bad tingling feeling, it was warm. Finally we came to a stop at the mouth of a cave-like place, and Akari's face lit up and she turned to us, spreading her arms out. This is it, Naruto stared at the whirlpool before him. The dark cave was illuminated by the glow the water gave off. The pool, as Akari called it, looked more like a medium-sized lake. The water glowed a bright light blue color that looked like silver was mixed in with the blue. In the middle of the lake there was a large whirlpool that swirled around lazily in a hypnotic way. Well, let's taste this water, since it looks so clear and clean, Kurosuke said with a very childish grin as he dipped his hands in the water. However, just as his hands were submerged in the glowing water, the whirlpool started spinning very fast and furiously. The water current was so strong that Kurosuke got a shock and fell in when the current pulled on his hands. Naruto and Akari, who was standing behind the dark-headed boy, both tried to catch him, but it was too late and they both were pulled in along with their dark-headed companion. The three screamed and desperately held onto each other any way they could. They were pulled closer and closer towards the middle of the whirlpool and couldn't even use chakra to get out of the water. The lazy swirling of the whirlpool earlier was long forgotten due to the furious waters that were currently sweeping the three of them away. They thought for sure they were going to die. Well, they were about to find out what their fate was, because they had reached the center of the whirlpool and were being sucked down. Naruto's pav. I opened my eyes to see I was in some other cave. What's going on? Where are we? Those were my thoughts as I woke my friends up. The last thing I remember is that whirlpool that we went down, and then everything went black and now here we are. I thought of many different ways we could have ended up here, and the answer I keep getting is almost hard to believe. However, if it wasn't because I read the Uzumaki history, then I wouldn't believe it myself. Naruto-kun? Where are we? Asked Akari. She was looking around the place curiously, while Kurosuke just sat on the ground scratching his head, looking around confused. I decided to think about how I could possibly tell them that I think the whirlpool was some kind of portal to a pocket dimension thing, either just for Uzumakis or prisoners of some kind. Well, I think we in another cave somewhere else that is somehow connected to that other cave with the whirlpool, but I'm not really sure if it's only for Uzumakis because Kurosuke is here, so I think we should watch out just in case while we trying to find a way out of this place. I told Akari and Kurosuke this, and they looked like they kind of understood what I was trying to say, but I honestly couldn't be too sure when it comes to those two. We walked around looking if we could find a way out, but that's not what we ended up finding. What we came across was something both confusing and amazing. It was something we only seen in the history books of Uzu that we came across. Something that we never seen pictures of but did read the details and description of, and in my case heard about from Mito. Kami-sama. Isn't that the weapons that Mito-sama told you about? The same ones in the history of Uzu? But there's only 3 of them. Where are the others? Yo shrimp? Are you even listening? Wait, don't go closer, there might be a trap here. Hey, Naruto, wait man, wait. Kurosuke shouted at me, but I was already there touching the weapons my ancestors left for me. The first one I lifted slightly up from the stone altar. It was heavy, but not as heavy as it looked. The material of the handle warmed under my skin and I could hear a humming sound from the weapon I held. The material was black with a red Uzumaki clan symbol on the handle, and the cover of the katana was the same color as the grip of the blade with the same red whirlpool symbol on it. On the right side of the blade I picked up there was a twin blade for the one I held. They looked identical and both of them had 2 pitch black gems dangling from the head of each grip. Beautiful. That was all that came to mind as I stood at the stone altar. Kurosuke's pav. I walked up towards that idiot and grabbed his shoulder. I glanced at the weapons on the altar, but I resisted the urge to also touch them. They were really nice, and the one pair of swords in the navy blue covers with white designs really called out to me, but I was worried whether this was a trap or not. I mean, I have been caught in a few traps before because of those people that was after my family before. I don't want anything to happen to these 2 that I have just come to think of as my new family. Naruto, you baka. Didn't I say that might be a trap? Why didn't you listen? I know that this might be what you were looking for along with that purple stone thing, but still. This could be a trap set up for anyone who comes through that whirlpool thing that sucked us up in here. I yelled at the idiot in front of me and he looked kind of shocked and dropped the sword he was holding back onto the altar. Akari, who stood behind us a bit further away from the altar, looked between us with worry. Ah. Kurosuke, sorry. I was just so drawn to this swords. I didn't mean to ignore your warning. I mean, what are the chances we were looking for the Uzumaki heritage and then Akari stumbles across the cave with the whirlpool and then you fell in and we all got pulled here? Naruto said, looking slightly bashful. I shook my head at his idiocy. Sometimes. I opened my mouth to say something, but there was suddenly a pressure pressing down on all 3 of us. Who dares to enter this cave under my protection? There are 2 Uzumakis here. Are you traitors? Who is this other person here? Why are you here? Answer me now. A thunderous female voice echoed all around us, and this beautiful woman with red hair appeared before us wearing long white robes with the symbol of fire on it. Aunt Mito. It's me, Naruto Uzumaki, and my friends Akari Uzumaki and Kurosuke Katsuno. I came to Uzu on the orders from you, Auntie Mito. Part of your soul appeared in Konoha and saved me from death and made me your heir. You also said if I chose for myself, when my memories of you were sealed, to go to Uzu, then I'll get my memories of you back and then I will have to find the Uzumaki legacy. Naruto told the woman in front of us. I looked at him in awe. Naruto had forced himself to stand up even under the pressure that was pressing down on us.
You are a brave one, young man. If it is as you say it is, I wish to see some proof of what you say. You should have the proof I need in order for me to allow you to leave with 3 of 8 weapon sets from our ancestors. Come to me, young man, and let me see your memories of this other me you speak of. Mito-sama ordered. Naruto walked towards her without fear and allowed her to lay her hands on his head to see his memories.
Not even a few minutes went past when Mito-sama pulled her hands away with her mouth in a frown. The pressure lifted off of us and Mito-sama pulled Naruto into her arms and hugged him. I stood up from the ground and glanced towards Akari, who had also been rooted in the same spot that she was in and just watched. Normal Pav. I'm glad you came to look for your legacy, Naruto. I'm really happy that you have found yourself companions as well. You can happily take the weapons. However, we only have 3 out of the 8 sets that used to be here. As you can see, the twin katanas, the twin said, and the scythe is the only ones here. The bow staff and the others used to have masters before until they died and their weapons stolen or lost. Mito told Naruto after she pulled away from the hug. Thank you, Auntie, but how will we find the others? I don't want the other weapons to be taken by the wrong people. I mean, I wish to give the weapons to the right people who will do the right thing with them. Naruto asked the elder Uzumaki. Mito smiled at him in return and nodded her head in understanding. Yes, Naruto, I know. You can give the weapons to your friends, but beware of who you give them to. The only way to unlock their power is the will to protect and survive in a life or death situation. You and whoever you give the weapons to can bond with them by blood, and then the weapon of choice will be able to be called back to the owner if it is out of reach. The weapons can also sense each other. You can use the strength of the glow to find the others. Naruto. There is something else I should warn you about, especially with the prophecy. Only you can stop the evil if you push aside your hatred for your family. Mito told him with a serious face, and he nodded back with an equally serious face. I know, but I can't forgive nor can I forget about what they have put me through. Auntie Mito, you know for yourself. You seen by memories. It's too much for me to forgive. That's the one thing you can't force me to do. Uzumaki legacy be damned, Naruto said with conviction. His face looked so closed off and impassive that you wouldn't even think of him as a soft-hearted person, especially his eyes, which had started glowing. That's understandable, Naruto. You don't have to forgive or forget what they made you go through, but please try and put it aside. Another thing is that I wish to train you. If the three of you train by yourselves, you will progress, but not as quickly as you want to or need to. However, the part of my soul that is here will help train you, but you will have to take that small rock and take it out of the whirlpool with you. That is all I can say for now. Now here is where you will find that rock and how to get out of this whirlpool. Mito said, then went on to giving them directions and explanations on how and where to find this small-sided glowing purple rock. 3 hours later, the trio walked out the cave that they originally went into, carrying their weapons of choice. Naruto had the twin katanas, Kurosuke had the twin sei, and Akari had the scythe. Each of them chose their own weapon and made sure to bond with said weapons, just like how Mito told them. They quickly went back to where they were staying to rest for the night, since it was already very late. After all, they did spend a lot of time in the cave with Mito while she explained some things to them. Elsewhere, a bow staff glowed in the darkness that wrapped around it, engulfing it with a white aura that pulsed every 2 minutes. 1991, 1992, 1993, 1994, 1995, 1996. A young 12-year-old boy grunted as he did push-ups using only his right arm, on his fingertips. The boy's tan muscles glimmered with sweat in the dim sunlight of a cloudy morning. Once he got to 2,000 push-ups, he stopped and leaned his back against the oak tree in the training ground. Taking a sip of water in his bottle, he closed his eyes and let out a sigh. How long do you plan on watching me? He asked while his eyes were still closed. Oh, come on, sweetie. You are so good to watch. How could I possibly restrain myself from watching you like a piece of meat dangling in front of my face? Looking is free after all. A woman laughed before taking a seat next to the younger boy, who still never opened his eyes. She folded her blue kimono-styled dress under her and relaxed her back against the oak tree as well.
So what do you need me for? You normally don't take a break this early in the day, and we only together most of the time when you given the day off or you take a day off. So you can't say you just wanted to see me or something like that. I'll repeat my question again now that you have no excuses. What do you need me for? May? The boy asked, opening his glinting purple eyes.
Ah, and here I was going to beat around the bush some more, however. Yes, I do need something from you, and you and your team are the only ones who can help me with this pain in the problem. Besides, I wouldn't trouble you with my country's business if I could send someone else to do it or go myself. You know that, don't you? Naruto-kun? The cage of the village in the mist asked her companion, who ran a hand through his mixed-colored hair.
Konoha. Team 7, your mission is to protect the bridge builder, Tazuna, and his family until he completes building his bridge in Wave Country. Do you understand me? You have today to prepare for this mission. Meet at the gates at 7 tomorrow from now. You are dismissed. A blonde-headed man in a white robe said sternly to the team in front of him. Hospital. A blonde woman sat looking out the window up at the clear sunny sky. Her honey brown eyes glazed over, thinking about something. The woman spun her chair around and looked at the wall of her office that held a photo of 2 women and a small scrawny-looking boy who was smiling so hard that his eyes resembled a fox. The 2 women, one her assistant and the other one herself, looked happy in the picture. It's been 5 years now, huh? In 3 days it will be that time again. It has been too long now. I wonder how you have been and what you doing right now. I wonder how much you've changed, and I really wonder when you will come back to us again. In 3 more days it marks the day you ran away from Konoha. Naruto, come back please. The head medic, Tsunade Senju, sighed softly and turned back to her paperwork. Tsunade-sensei, I'm going on a mission outside the village to Wave Country. So I won't be able to train with you until the mission is finished. The mission is to protect the bridge builder Tazuna-san. I was wondering if I can't get some last-minute training or advice from you, sensei. A pink-headed girl said, rushing into her teacher's office. The slug princess got a huge ticking vein above her left eyebrow. Sakura, how many times must I tell you? Stop rushing into my office without knocking. Tsunade yelled at her student while punching her desk once with such force it broke in half. Sakura had the decency to look embarrassed at her overeagerness to get her first mission outside the village. Sorry, Tsunade-sensei. The younger girl squeaked out with a red face. Sakura Haruno, one of Tsunade's apprentices. She had her hair tied up in a bun while her bangs hung loosely in her face. She wore a black and red top and a black shorts with her ninja pouch attached to her right leg and the standard black ninja sandals. Should I broke another desk? Shizune is going to be angry about this. It's the 10th desk this week. Oh well, I'll just have to get a new one again. How about we go out for some extra training, Sakura? Before Shizune sees this mess. Seeing as how you are so eager to train with your sensei. Tsunade said, already halfway out the door. Poor Sakura could only run out the room after her sensei not wanting to be there when Shizune saw the broken desk. Mizu. Let me get this straight, okay? Mei-chan gave us a mission to bring back Zabuza Momochi, who is one of the 7 swordsmen of Mizu. All because she needs more manpower here. A red-headed girl with green eyes asked the leader of their team, who happened to be the one and only Naruto Uzumaki. Gee Zakari, are you mad at him or something? Please tell me you not on your period again. Didn't you have it just the other day? Honestly, girls' bodies are weird, a boy with black hair said, but was cut off halfway through his sentence by the redhead who pulled out her favorite weapon, her scythe, and held it against him. Kurosuke, this morning I woke up in a pool of my own blood. Would you like to end up the same way? Akari said sweetly into his ear when she appeared behind him. The boy broke out in a cold sweat, paling ever so slightly at his friend's menacing aura. He shook his head slowly and she backed off, going back to stand where she was before Kurosuke's little comment.
Now that you have settled down, Akari, and you have stopped your comments, Kurosuke,
I will answer you by saying once again that we are going to bring Zabuza back with or without force, but we will bring him back. Hopefully without force, because things can get out of hand pretty fast. Now how about we go have some ramen and then get our things ready to leave by tomorrow at dawn, because I have some things to do before we leave, okay guys? Naruto asked them with a grin and they both returned the grin and nodded.
Mizuka's office. Mei sat behind her desk reading and signing documents for many different things. Once she was done signing the last of her documents for that moment, she sat back with a cup of green tea and sipped at the tea while closing her eyes and thinking about when she had first met Uzumaki Naruto and his team.
Flashback. A woman in a blue kimono-style dress was bleeding from many different wounds, so much so that her dress was no longer just blue, it was now red and blue. 5 of the strongest loyalist shinobi was chasing her. There had been an ambush and there was over 50 of them. They took down her men as fast as they could and managed to wound her badly, and their blades were covered with poison, making her stumble around to get away. Eventually she fell into a large river with a rough current and got washed away after going unconscious. When she had woken up, she was in a tent and her wounds were bandaged up and had medical seals on it. I see you awake now. How are you feeling? A young boy no more than 10 years old said, coming into the tent. Mei looked at him properly. He had blonde hair with different color streaks and almost glowing purple eyes that she saw could see into her soul. She immediately recognized the boy. Why? You're the Hokage's son, aren't you? Why are you here? Who saved me? Mei queried. The boy's eyes lost all warmth and his lips pressed together. He studied her face for a few moments before leaving the tent, and another person came back instead. This time it was a 10-year-old girl that she didn't recognize as anyone she knew but did recognize her as an Uzumaki. Listen lady, my friend saved you, so you must say thanks, not ask who his father is or anything family-wise, okay? Now I would like to know if you feeling any better than you did the other day when he first brought you here. Here, drink some water. It's not poison, just so you know, because if we wanted to kill you or something, Naruto-kun could have just left you like that by the river. The redhead said, giving Mei a bottle of water while watching her with narrowed green eyes.
You right, I'm sorry for asking something like that after you guys saved me. My name's Mei Terumi. I'm the leader of the rebels. The people who were trying to kill me are the loyalists. However, I'm feeling a lot better than I did before. Thank you for helping me when I was in trouble. Mei told the red-headed girl, taking the water and drinking some. The water felt so nice going down her parched throat.
So that's what happened. Alright, but you should thank Naruto-kun. Neither Kurosuke nor I helped save you. He did all the work because both of us were scouting and gathering firewood while he went fishing for our dinner. So Naruto-kun came back and set up a tent for you, cleaned you up and healed you, then put those bandages with medical seals on you. So by the time we came back he was already done, so now we were just waiting for you to wake up. Oh, and my name is Akari Uzumaki. The green-eyed girl said. What? He did that all by himself, but how? You guys are still so small, he doesn't even know me either. Mei said, surprised at this discovery. Akari looked at her funny, then shook her head and walked out the tent, leaving Mei alone to think on her own. Later on she learned a lot more about Naruto and the rest of his team.
Flashback end, Naruto's POV. 2 years ago I met and joined Mei in her dream of freeing the bloodlines of Mizu.
And a year ago I met Sarah, who was a descendant of Queen Sarah. Somehow Sarah is the reincarnation of the queen and actually remembers her past life. However, that was one of my few adventures with Akari and Kurosuke. We learned a lot from Aunt Mito and used what we learned during the war in Mizu. Now I own a house and a private training ground here, as well as a vote on the Council of Mizu.
It's been so long since the last time I saw my so-called family back in Konoha, but the hate I hold for them still boils inside me. Looking around my room, I took note of everything from the peach walls to the polished wooden floors. My bed was in the middle of the room against the wall facing the soundproof door I had just walked through. My desk was under the window towards the right side of the room, and a bookshelf sat on the left of the desk, while my walk-in closet was on the left side of the room. I walked over to the desk and looked at the few picture frames that stood on top of the desk.
The first picture to the left showed Kurosuke on the left, Akari in the middle, myself on the right, and Aunt Mito behind us. A shadow clone of mine took the picture while we all posed for it like a real team photo. That was taken a week before we left Uzu on our journey, and that had been 3.5 years ago. The next picture showed Princess Koyuki and me while Akari and Kurosuke was in the background while Koyuki was kissing my cheek. That happened 2 years ago, just before we came to Mizu. The following photo showed Princess Shion with my team and me all standing together smiling. That was just after things settled down with Mizu last year. The last picture was taken just after we won the war, with Mei hugging me and my teammates laughing in the background at my slightly flustered face. There were also other pictures on the walls of the time in Uzu, and even pictures with other people we've met, including Sarah. Naruto-kun, can I come in? I heard Akari ask from outside my room, and I walked to the door, opening it for her to come inside. She walked to my bed and sat down with a frown. Something was bothering her. I could feel it. Akari studied my face for a few minutes. Naruto-kun, we'll be leaving soon again, won't we? She asked. Maybe. Mei knows it too. We have been here for 2 years already, and we have found the bow staff and the single short katana, so we currently have 5 out of 8 weapons, and that's only a part of the Uzumaki legacy. On top of it, Aki, something weird is going on. I can feel it. I don't know when or where this strange feeling is going to lead me, but I know it's calling me out. I'd understand if you guys won't support leaving again this time. I told her this and sat next to her on the bed.
It's fine, Naruto-kun, I just wanted to know what you thinking. Kurosuke has been edgy too, and so have I. You have many people who support whatever you do, and you know that. Hell, you have 3 princesses, one that is reincarnated, a cage, a king and prince, as your team and family, as well as so many other people out there that are supporting you secretly. So don't ever say something like that again. We will go wherever you go, Akari exclaimed with such conviction I couldn't help embracing her tightly. She has matured so much since she was that little girl who called me Naruto Oni-chan. I let out a chuckle.
Konoha, a woman with long red hair, sat sipping on some orange juice while watching her 4th child, who was 4 years old, play with her best friend's youngest child. The 2 little girls were playing tag with each other while her best friend sat opposite her, also sipping on some orange juice.
I must say, Kushina, you have done a much better job raising your youngest daughter than you have done raising your triplets. I don't really wish to bring this up much with you because I still get extremely angry at you, but in 3 days it will mark another year since Naruto-kun ran away from you and Minato. Just the other day Natsumi-chan asked me to tell her about her Oni-chan and then asked if he is still going to come home. A dark-headed woman said to her friend while she watched her own daughter play. Makoto, it's still hard for me and the rest of this family since we have realized our faults when it came to
my son. It's worse now since Natsumi only wants to learn more about her brother. We don't even know if he is still alive since no one has reported seeing him. Makoto, she even says she dreams about him sometimes. Nanami and Noriko have really changed a lot of their ways after he left. They proved to me that they could actually be around Natsumi without doing what they did in the past to Naruto. However, Natsumi said she wants to be like him when she's older. She's already studying seals and genjutsu. Kushina told her friend while a few tears escaped her eyes.
Okawa-san, look at what I drew. It's Oni-chan. The little girl with red hair said, coming towards her mother with a picture showing a messy drawing of a person with yellow-colored hair and purple eyes with whisker marks on each cheek and a huge smile. The black-headed girl frowned and showed her own version of Naruto. Ah, Natsumi-chan, Sayuki-chan, both your drawings look very pretty now. Why don't you girls go draw a picture of me and Natsumi-chan's Okawa-san? Makoto told them, and they both smiled happily and ran off to draw their mommies. Kushina let a few more tears slip out while Makoto forced her own tears back. Ichiraku stand. A navy blue-headed girl broke apart her pair of chopsticks and started eating from the steaming bowl of ramen in front of her. Savoring the taste of the delicious meal made her pupilless-looking lavender eyes flutter close. However, her mood was immediately wrecked when she picked up 2 familiar chakra signatures and heard the stand's flaps open, showing the arrival of a new customer. Please inform me of the reason why you are in my presence if you knew I was here? If you do not have a good enough reason, then I politely ask you to leave right now at this moment in time. If not, I might just lose my cool and tell you once again what exactly I think of you. After all, no matter how much you change your ways, you can't change the sins you have already committed. The girl said, not once looking back to the 2 other girls who walked in. The 2 girls didn't say a word and just walked back out. Wow, Hinata-chan. You sure beat around the bush when telling somebody to off, said a boy who had red triangles on his cheeks. Next to him sat another boy with dark glasses and a long gray coat. You know, Hinata-chan, you can't possibly stay mad at them forever. I mean, before he could continue his sentence, Hinata slapped her chopsticks down on the table. Kiba, don't talk about something you hardly know. So just keep your mouth shut, okay? Let me eat in peace. Hinata said this with a stern voice that made him go silent. Meanwhile, Shino, the other member of their 3-man squad, sat quietly and just listened to the conflict happening around him. Hinata looked down at her ramen and felt a memory resurface. Flashback. 4 years ago, a young Hinata sat in the park on a swing while her cousin pushed her back and forth. 2 young girls approached the cousins. These 2 girls happened to be the Namikaze girls, Noriko and Nanami. They stopped in front of Hinata, and Neji and the Hyugas looked back at the 2 girls. Hinata-chan, right? The 2 of us, Nanami and me want to ask about how much you know about our brother Naruto. We were very bad towards him, so now we want to make it up to him by getting to know him better. So do you mind? Before Noriko could complete her sentence, a loud sound echoed through the park. Hinata's hand was stretched out in front of her. How dare you ask us something like that? Are you not feeling ashamed that you don't know anything about your own brother? That you have to ask us about him? I can't stand your face any longer, so just leave us alone. If you want to know about Naruto-kun, go ask him yourself. Oh yeah, wait, I remember now. It's your family's fault that he ran away, so you can't ask him. I bet if he was still here you all would still act like you used to with him. Hinata shouted out at them, but calmed down by the end of her rant. The heiress turned her back to the two girls and left with her cousin. Flashback end. Hinata finished her ramen and stood up and left the stand with her teammates. The owner and his daughter both shook their heads at the conflicts happening with the younger generation. Tucci sighed tiredly. I wonder when Naruto-kun will be back. I think the ramen is boiling over. Oh, the ramen. Ayumi-chan. The next day, at the same time that Team 7 left the village for Wave Country, in Mizu, Naruto's team also left the village for Wave Country to retrieve Zabuza and take him back to Mizu before they leave again on their journey for somewhere else. Neither teams knew it at that time, but things were about to get very interesting on their separate missions. Konoha. Okay, Team 7, let's set out. Sakura, Sasuke and Sai, you must watch out from here on out, do you understand me? A man with silver gravity-defying hair asked his team sternly, and they gave their separate replies while their client stood on the side watching. Good, I'm glad we all understand each other then, he said, giving an one-eye smile since his other eye was covered with his headband. Mizu. All right, Akari. Kurosuke, be on guard. I heard this guy is tough and the other Anbu sent after him were all cut down, so let's be careful, all right? Naruto told his friends and they nodded in return. Good. Then let's go now, because we never know what or who we might encounter on our way. We already packed up and said our goodbyes to everyone in Mizu here, so we going to find him and send him back here, then we can start our